be seated.
Good morning. Well, y'all snuck in with my back turned to you. And we're live streaming, right? Good morning to those online. We're happy to have you joining us. And thank you for having me. I gave the first service talk, and I thought I was super nervous. And I kind of was, I'm not going to lie. That wouldn't be a good way to start off. But I felt so welcomed, and I felt like this place had been just waiting for me to arrive in this moment. So, it's going to make me cry a little bit. So to say that this is a surreal moment is a vast understatement. I came down in February to meet with Reverend Gary to talk about my ministerial internship. And at that time, he was so welcoming and just said, I'm going to be on sabbatical. Would you please come and speak one of the days that I'm gone? And it felt so far away. I said, sure, no problem. And it feels like time got put on hyperspeed since then. And it's the 28th of July. This time next year, I'll have graduated and become an ordained Unity minister. And I am grateful that all of you are a part of that process for me. So 5 years ago, to say that this was a surreal moment coming would have been a vast understatement. I couldn't even imagine if you had told me, hey, in 5 years, you're going to be giving a Sunday lesson in New Braunfels, Texas, on your way to becoming a Unity minister. I'll reserve my natural reaction, but I would have thought that you were crazy. And I would have thought that God is absolutely crazy, lost its mind to think that I should be in this position today. But we're going to talk about that process as I move through my talk. So this marks the beginning of the end for me, this beginning of the end of a journey that has been disorienting. Being in seminary school has turned everything upside down. It has been painful. It's been inconvenient. It's been a process that seems to take forever and not a lot of fun all the time. And other times it has been a blast. It has been so much fun, such a huge adventure. It's been exhilarating. And if I had to choose one word to sum it all up, I would say that it's been transformational. So the one thing that's for sure is that this has been a huge undertaking. It's been a long and wild ride, and one that I put off as long as humanly possible. I hope that you'll find some places of relatability as we move through our lesson today. I want to start with reminding everyone in this room and online that we are creatures of habit, aren't we? Yes, I took bets in the first service of how many people are sitting exactly where you sat this time last week. Because we're creatures of habit. Oh, I got a head shake now. No, you're adventurous. I want to sit next to you. Well, animals, they follow the same path. They find a great food source. They find a great watering hole. They migrate according to what season is happening, right? And the trees and the plants, they know exactly when to bloom and when to drop their leaves to prepare for the dormant cycle of winter. And we are not the exception, are we? No. We do the exact same thing in the exact same way day after day after day. And if you are thinking that maybe you're outside that norm, I'll invite you to think about what you do in the first 5 minutes of every single day, and how you close down the last 15 minutes of every single day. How you choose to drive to work or come to church on Sunday, the people you choose to talk to, the places you go, the food that you eat, the things that you buy, the books that you read, the things that you watch on Netflix. They are all part of that pattern and that rhythm. So you just got a little peek at what my ritual looks like. And in this place, this sacred place, this is created out of ritual. You know when to come and arrive. You know who you're going to see. We're going to start on time. It's going to be familiar faces and music. And the time between now and getting to lunch is predictable, right? And we do that to create a sense of safety, a sense of security, predictability, because it's comfortable. It serves as an insurance policy of sorts, right? That we know what is expected of us. We know where we need to be. We know how long it takes to get there. We know that we are going to know someone when we arrive. We're going to have time enough, food enough, shelter enough, love enough, money enough. So when something is out of the norm, something breaks that routine, we also know that right away, don't we? The message runs a little long, the lights are a little off. It just feels outside that norm. So what happens when we are tapped on the shoulder and asked through an idea or a thought or a feeling to do something different, something new for us? Am I alone? Please tell me I'm not alone. How many of you trust that feeling and act with a big fat yes every time you get tapped on the shoulder, right? Sometimes we do. Sometimes we do without hesitation or reservation, but it depends on how big that ask is, doesn't it? Sometimes it's just a nudge, a feeling like, I'm going to take a different way home today. Or, although I check the weather every time before I leave the house, and there's no chance of rain here at the dead end of summer in Central Texas, I'm going to grab my umbrella. I just have a feeling. Sometimes we have a nudge that looks like, maybe I'll stop at the convenience store on the way home and see if I can try my luck on a scratch-off lottery ticket. And you're going along and you get that first match and you get excited and you think, oh my God, I'm gonna win, right? Or you follow the instinct to turn left instead of right, and when you do so, you hit Easy Street, every green light all the way home, and it lands you 15 minutes ahead of schedule. And thank goodness it did, because it's Friday and you forgot to get the trash out in time for the garbage man to come. So exactly what you needed: time with your spouse, time to walk your dogs, time to rest. Prepare a meal for your family to sit down together. It's funny how when we follow those nudges, we get exactly what we need. And it seems to me that not all of those taps on the shoulder or whispers in the ear are exactly the same, are they? Not all of them are just turn left, Maggie, instead of right. Those small asks we call hunches. If we do them, great. We get home early, we win $50, we don't get wet in the rain. If we don't, they're of little consequence to us. Isn't that right? The bigger asks, or what we call a calling, we don't do right away, typically. They have a totally different feel, a totally different intonation to them. They somehow feel bigger. They feel heavier. And if we don't listen to them, they start to penetrate every single thought we have. They wiggle their way into our dreams. Think about a time where you thought you might want to get a new car. And you think, I'm going to get myself a bright red Volkswagen Beetle. And then you turn around and see a bright red Volkswagen Beetle every single place you go. And it might not be bright red, but it's going to be that same new car. And it serves as validation that this is for me. You with me? Yeah? I'm not alone out there? And when we don't pay attention to it, it starts to eat at the pit of our stomach. And coincidentally, right here in the pit of our stomach is where the power of wisdom resides. Right below that, below our belly button, is order. And in the small of our back, also not coincidentally, is strength. Wisdom, Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, says in The Revealing Word that it is spiritual intuition, the voice of God within as a source of our understanding, mental action based on Christ truth within. Spiritual intuition. It doesn't say that it's intellectual, that it is what's happening up in my head, because our entire makeup is that of spirit. It is spiritual intuition, that knowing. It is the voice of God. So when we hear it, we know that that voice of God is for us, right? I don't hear Heather's voice of God. I hear my voice of God. And when I feel called, my tendency to resist comes that from fear, that it's going to upset the apple cart, that I'm going to be asked to break from routine, step out of my comfort zone, do something that is going to be out of the norm, and that makes me panic sometimes. It makes me worry. So we resist this and develop a case of what I call the yeah buts, right? We start to attempt to tell God why we can't do what we're called to do. We can't be what we feel we are called to be. We think we're telling God the limitation of who and what we are through our current human experience. That looks like it's fear. It looks like excuses and limitations that are out of alignment with the absolute truth and potential of what and who we can become, what we are called here to be. And so the dance begins. We're in Texas. This is not to be mistaken as the Texas two-step. This is a two-step process, though, and it's kind of like a dance-off with you and God. And it looks like this. The voice of God calls you through that stirring within, and we say, yeah, but. And then the voice of God shows you through people, places, things, and situations through our lives, and it freaks us out. So we go, yeah, but, and we back way up. And that gets louder and more prominent in our lives. And like I said earlier, it breaks into your dreams. It disturbs our sleep, our peace. This is the final move of the yeah, but. We grab the covers and we whip them over our head and close our eyes tight and say, yeah, but. Instead of sitting up both right and saying, okay, God, show me. We start that process. So I wanted to, just kidding. So I'm the master champion of the yeah buts. We don't know each other very well, but I am the 2-time gold star champion of the yeah but dance off with God. And not because I kid myself in thinking that I actually win. There's no winning. But because I got a mirror ball that's sitting on my mantle that is for the longest withstanding process of holding out from my calling from God. We can only experience sweet surrender when we butt out. And I want to share with you my calling story so we get to know each other a little bit better. I am looking forward to knowing each and every one of you over the next 4 months. And I'm going to step out there and show you a little bit of my process and how I resisted. So it started with having that feeling of, is this it? My kids were getting older. I had 2 in high school and 1 in middle school. Great job, very predictable, nice house in a nice neighborhood. But I was feeling that stirring, that feeling like, is this all there really is in my life? And so I went to church one Sunday. I'm local. I live in Kyle. I was at Unity of Wimberley, and my minister started to give a talk on your calling. And I thought, well, I'm called to be a mom. And as soon as I had that thought, she goes, yeah, it's not that you're a mom. It's like she could read my thoughts. It's not that you're a mom or a dad or a daughter. This is something that is unique unto just you, that you are brought here to be. So in that process, I started to feel that knowing, and my head started the yeah buts. And I ignored it. I could hear myself having conversations with friends and family that sounded a whole lot like a Unity minister, like I really get this principle stuff. And I ignored it still. So 18 months later, I have had a heck of a round, hence the mirror ball, of the yeah buts with God. And I'm sitting in the front row at church. I was doing platform assistance, and there by myself. My parents weren't there, my grandmother wasn't there, my kids weren't there, so I sat on the front row. And I couldn't tell you today what the talk was, but during the meditation, I had this visceral experience where from out here, third party, I witnessed the spirit of my being come up out of my body and trade places with the minister that was standing right in front of me. And I just audaciously put my elbow up on the pulpit and swung one ankle over the other and went, "Do you see me now?" In a way that I could not misunderstand what God was saying to me, I had to show myself. Did I answer? Did I say yes? What do you think? Heck no. I said no. I said no, thank you. And a few weeks later, I was on a conference call with a bunch of people talking about a bunch of stuff that I don't give a hoot about. And I was making my 3:00 cup of coffee. Thank goodness I was on mute, because the next thing you know, I blurt out, yelling at my coffee pot, "I'm not even supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be a Unity minister." And I clapped my hands over my mouth, because in that moment, through the power of the spoken word, I knew that God knew that I knew. And I could no longer hide. I could no longer, but my way out of this. It was time for me to butt out, period. So, with all of my wisdom at that time, I thought, all right, I'll do this, but I have some conditions. I'm going to bargain with you, God. I want to get all of my spiritual enrichment classes in 1 year's time. Now, we live in the mecca of Unity churches from Dallas, Texas to San Antonio. And I don't know how many churches there are, but when I did my Google search, not one single one was offering an SEE class at the time. And I thought, well, I must need to get my decoder ring out, and I misunderstood for the last 2 years what I was being asked to do. And no sooner enter stage right comes a new friend, Unity minister, who says, "Well, I just finished my master's degree in curriculum writing. I would be happy to do all of your SEE classes online. We can do them as quickly as you want." So, a year later, I have finished all of my classes. That's not an easy feat. It's a lot of work. And it was time for application for seminary school. And I thought, well, yeah, but I got you now, God. I'm not packing up these kids and selling this house and giving up my job and moving to Kansas City. And God goes, yeah, but This class, these studies will no longer be provided on campus. It's going to be at home, online, so you too can become a Unity minister from the comfort of your own home. Ha ha. God got me then. So where I was experiencing resistance, it just kept flowing. The path kept unfolding. It is our job to be in union with, in alignment with, and in tune with the divine within. And say yes. Say yes. And that's it. You just surrender into the moment when you acknowledge through faith that you're going to just step into your calling. You're going to say yes and let God do God. Create the opportunities, open the doors, open the windows, bring you the people that keep putting one tile on the path in front of the other. And you just keep on putting one foot in front of the other and say yes to your highest good. Saying yes to our highest good is also saying yes to that which serves others. It's sometimes easier to do for others than it is for ourselves. And if we are not taking the bull by the horns and we are not willing to just step in, we are also potentially robbing others of our spiritual gifts, of the good that we are intended to bring into their lives, enriching them and blessing them. So if you won't do for yourself, maybe do for others. And here's a secret. This is going to blow your mind. God operates on a need-to-know basis. Did you know? We don't need to know when. We don't need to know where or how or who. All we need to do is say yes and know that it will all be revealed to us as needed in perfect timing. So remember at the beginning of the talk where I said understanding lives in the body? Remember what else lives in that general vicinity? Order, right below the belly button, and strength at our backs. Again, turning to the revealing word, I'm going to say that order is the housing place of the divine ideas. So when we step in faithfully into who we know we are, and we are able to surrender all of the error thinking, all of the thinking that is out of lack and fear and limitation, all of the things that say, I need to be small. We allow for divine order to flow through us, as us. And strength. Strength is the energy of God. We say we have to put your back into it. You got to have a strong back for this. Right there at the base of our back is the energy of God. It is the freedom from weakness, the power to withstand, and the capacity to accomplish absolutely anything because it's already done. Thinking about this another way, you're getting the message, you're having the thought or getting the feeling that you can do or become something. You can build something, you can be someone, because it's possible. It's done through the eyes of God. We are just stepping into it. In Unity, we believe that we are co-creators with God. We are co-creators. But we also have a choice in that co-creation. We have the ability to consciously nurture that connection with the divine within. We can do that, or we can resist that. Resisting is what causes a sense of separation. When I was preparing this talk, I looked up separation. It was filled of misery, It was filled with suffering, and the suffering comes from the illusion that we are separate from God, something other than complete perfection and wholeness of that which created us. We have tools that we can listen through prayer and meditation for that voice of God. It's a connection that we nurture. It might come by way of creativity if you're an artist, or baking or cooking. I'm a baker and a cook. So I find divine inspiration and communion with that indwelling spirit during those times. We also have the ability to talk to one another. Because if I am a divine expression of God, if I am God in action, then so is every single one of you in this room and all of humanity. So it's amazing what we will hear if we have connection and have awareness that God's voice will be spoken through and heard through our connections with our friends and family, or the guy that's bagging your groceries at H-E-B. And then we can activate the power of faith. Not just know that we have faith, but be faith. Embody that boldly, knowing that we are the Spirit of God, that God is working through us and as us, and we are strong enough to withstand whatever's going to be asked of us, wherever we're going to have to go, and whatever we're going to have to do to become our next version of ourselves. And once we do that, we can breathe. Then we have butt out, and we breathe in to the sweet serenity, knowing that we are connected to the one power, the one presence that is active and alive in me and you and this universe. It is God the good. And when we do that, we can hang up our dancing boots. We don't need to hang on to the yeah, but boots. We can just say yes. We can remember that all we have to do is keep saying yes and watch as the path unfolds before us, one brick, one tile, one step at a time. And rest in the assurance that if it's not for you, there will not be a brick there for you to step on. You will always be guided and directed into the exact right place, at the exact right time, in the version of who you are meant to be until next time. And I want to leave you with this quote by Meister Eckhart Tolle. Anything you accept fully will take you into peace. That is the miracle of surrender. Accepting fully, accepting peace in the surrender.
Lead your faith. Step out on the water. Release your faith. Every step is stronger.